Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of the Football Sweet Chat Show. I'm of course your host Leon, and with me today are the regulars, Andrew and Richard. How you guys doing?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, good, thank you.
You excited for the new football season?
Well, we'll see. It's been interesting. Been an interesting summer so far.
Yeah, definitely. We can. I think everyone can agree we're waiting for the football to get back.
Definitely.
But yeah, exactly. This, of course, is the first show of the new season. The topics we're going to be discussing today is the review of the 2014-2015 season, our opinions on the season as an overall, the summer transfers, the biggest ones, the sort of unexpected transfers, and our expectations for the new season. Right, let's get going. Review of the previous season, guys. Chelsea managed to beat City to the title. I think it was quite a comfortable win in the end. I didn't think there was much coming from the other teams. I think towards a certain time we pretty much walked it. What did you guys think of your own teams? How they done?
Oh, anything from the season before as a United fan was always going to be an improvement. I just think we didn't do too badly, really, to be fair. I mean, we had a lot of changes, 6 new players coming in, a few players going out. I think, to be perfectly honest, I mean, with the start that Manchester United had, if everyone looked at the first, 10 fixtures,
yeah,
and everybody thought, well, United could get 30 points out of that if they perform well, and we didn't start well at all, and then we obviously had that flurry of games towards the end of the season, and then won one of our last 6 games. So it could have been a completely different season for a United fan.
I think also the big sort of impact in that United squad was, I don't think Van Gaal found his preferred formation. You saw towards like the first half of the season, he had so many different teams and formations playing that there was one point where the players hadn't even played together before, and there was obviously that crushing defeat at MK Dons where a lot of players went out. He brought in quite a few players to replace them.
I think that, in all fairness, I mean, I think that was quite clever management, to be fair, because that was, at that point we'd signed, I think, Luke Shaw, and that was about it. And at that point, I think he was basically saying to the board and to the club, saying, "Look, if my first team players get injured, this is what I'm left with, and they can't even beat MK Dons." So within however many weeks of that game, half them players had left the club, and new players had come in. I think to sum up the season for me last year, I thought it was quite boring. I can't remember. Well, maybe the Man City win a couple of years ago when they won it on the last game of the season. But I think the last couple of years, the Premier League's just been a one-horse race. I didn't think anybody, maybe the season before with Liverpool and City.
Yeah, we really got sort of blitzed away with that sort of Liverpool attacking 3 in Sterling, Sturridge, and Suarez.
I just think that last season it was just. I think everybody knew that Chelsea were going to win the league. Man City didn't look as strong when Aguero didn't play. Liverpool just had an extremely poor season compared to the one before. Arsenal did what they always do. They're there and thereabouts. Spurs did the same thing. There was nothing really to excite fans and excite the neutral, so to speak. But
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people calling for Chelsea to win the league before the league had even started. And what I didn't see, which I thought I would from City, I didn't see them strengthen. They brought in Lampard, but I think that was just if he wins the league here, then we'll have the laugh over Chelsea. I don't really see them strengthening their team. But I also didn't see them strengthen this transfer window, so we could see maybe a bit of staleness coming in from them as well.
They've not strengthened at all. I mean, Liverpool must be rubbing their hands to get £50 million for a player that, number one, didn't want to be at your football club. Number two, hasn't really been the world beater people make out he is. He needed a couple of weeks off a few months ago because he was a bit tired. To get £50 million for a player like that, I mean, that's basically...
Yeah, it's an incredible bit of business.
It's madness because, I mean, I don't think he's improved City one little bit. I mean, there's these stats and things being tweeted that he's set up 5 goals and scored 4.
Well, pre-season doesn't mean anything.
They played Shanghai semi-pro team, didn't they, and beat them 8-0.
Well, you look at a lot of the Premier League teams, when they're on pre-season, they have youth players with them. They have, you'll see, an unknown sort of 18-year-old come in and score past a few players. It's all just training, really. Just training.
Man United have just beat Barcelona 3-1. Does that mean we're better than the European champions? It's a pre-season game. It's a one-off.
Yeah, and also a lot of these players are getting back into the mode of going on holiday and then coming back ready for the league. So it's not a lot of pressure on them. In competitive matches, you're going to see a lot more fight. You're going to see a lot more, a lot more tactics getting thrown around. And I think at the moment, when City have done their pre-season, it's been a lot of, we're playing nobodies and we just want to get these players fit and ready for the league. But obviously that backfired with Fabian Delph, but we'll talk about that later. But Andrew, what did you think of Arsenal last year? Did you see any improvements from the season before? Obviously Sanchez was excellent, but do you see any performances that you thought, we could be doing better? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of my biggest problems with last year was it was exactly the same as previous years, where why can't the season start in January? Because for some reason something just happens and Arsenal become the best formed team in Europe come January. But the problem is they're so far behind because they have such a poor start.
Yeah,
that where, like you say, it needs such a good ending to make up for the start. So I think the inconsistencies were the problem. I think you mentioned Sanchez then, which was definitely a fantastic player. But I think probably the breakout star at Arsenal last year, I'd have to say, was Hector Bellerin.
I thought he was fantastic, especially the sort of pressure being the only right back who was fit at one point. To come in at a young age and I think he done really well is remarkable, really, because there were some times where good attacking players could not get past him.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point. There was another good point I heard before, which was very true, with the fact that he was very, he seemed quite inexperienced at the start, but he grew into it, I think, which was the most promising actual thing to see. It was the same with, you could argue, was the same with Coughlin, was the fact that he was a bit rash at times, but he grew into that role.
Yeah, a lot of players need the matches. They need to be settled in that team. They need a bit of trust, and a lot of times they will, but a lot of managers won't take that risk. And obviously, there was a point at Arsenal where there were so many injuries and the players wasn't bought, where he sort of had to play that role.
Well, yeah, exactly. You mentioned there about injuries as well. That was a massive one. But with Arsenal, you've got to look around and say everybody gets injuries. I mean, look how many injuries Chelsea had last year.
Yeah.
It's because they had world-class players, but maybe not world-class, but very good.
Yeah, had players ready to come into the role.
Exactly, and they are very good Premier League players who they've got in those roles as well. It's not like the kids and stuff. It's good squad depth, which is, I think, something Arsenal need and still haven't addressed, which is something that they should, personally, it's something I think they should have addressed this summer, which they haven't done. But overall, last year was, I mean, the problem is winning the FA Cup glorifies a season, I think, which is of course going to happen because the FA Cup back-to-back is a great thing. But
yeah, of course, the FA Cup on its own is a great trophy. I mean, you have to beat a lot of teams to get even to the final. To win it, I think, is really good. The only thing I will say, I think, with Arsenal, you see improvements, but you see the sort of, a lot of people see the downside, that you'll buy a sort of keeper, a world-class keeper in Czech, but people say, but highlight the other areas. Do you think some people need to sort of realise that you can't just go out and buy world-class players? He's obviously bought a world-class player in Czech for a lot less money, and do you think he would have really helped last season?
It's a tough one. It's once again, it's at the start, I think. If you replace Szczesny from September to January with Czech, I think definitely. But I think in all fairness to him, David Ospina did a really good job last season.
Yeah.
he surprised a lot of people. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. I would say Cech is a lot better than David Ospina, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, like, David Ospina did have a good ending to the season. And just that point you said about spending money, I think that's Arsenal's biggest problem. Is I think a lot of the supporters do get kind of disillusioned with how much money there actually is. And I think kind of they do think they are a PSG and stuff, and think that the money, there's just infinite amount of money, which, to be honest, there might be a lot of money and they make a good profit and stuff, but there probably isn't that much to throw about to players.
And also, you've got to remember, like, a lot of players, we'll talk about this more in depth later, but a lot of players that are suggested for Arsenal, you can't just go out and bid for these players because you're going to have to pay over the odds for them. And it's never been a thing that Arsene Wenger has done. And obviously what we saw from Sanchez last year and Ozil, he has splashed the money, but he hasn't continuously splashed it all over the same window. So, maybe a sort of spending spree of that could see Arsenal become title challengers, because there was a point, like you said, from January onwards last season where they really did perform well, and maybe with a few add-ons to that squad they could really sort of push for the title challenge.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's about. I'd say they're about 4 good signings away from a really good title push, where it's realistic and they're actually still there, like late April, early May. Yeah,
I definitely agree. Obviously, I want to stay a bit biased, but what did you guys think of Chelsea's performance in the league last year? I think we really did sort of spend well in the transfer market, and I think we filled places that was need to be filled, and I think it became almost comfortable. Obviously there was people talking about winning every single trophy available. I never sort of said that because I think it's unrealistic. It's the same as the sort of unbeaten season. But just winning every trophy doesn't, and we got knocked out by Bradford, which was awful, but it doesn't sort of stop you from becoming a great team.
I think Chelsea last year were fantastic. I think regardless of what anybody says about park the bus or anything like that, that's just what champions do. And Chelsea did all the work they had to do at the start of the season. They basically did the opposite of Arsenal. They started fantastic, got all the points they needed, played the best football they could. And then when they realised that they were getting a bit tired and stuff, they realised they changed the philosophy completely and won the league comfortably. And I think they were one of the best teams the Premier League scene.
Okay. Richard, what did you think?
Completely disagree. I really do. I don't think Chelsea were anything special last season. I honestly feel that if Liverpool had have had the season they had before, if they hadn't lost Suarez, if they had the season they didn't have the injuries, obviously Sturridge was out for a long period of time. I think if City would have been able to keep Sergio Aguero fit, because they look a completely different side when he doesn't play. I think if, honest to God, I've obviously talked to you guys over the summer on text and things.
Yeah.
If Cech was at Arsenal last season, Arsenal would have won the Premier League. Pure and simple. They finished 4 points behind Manchester City, and they finished 12 points behind Chelsea.
Well, he obviously has a huge impact, obviously knowing that you have, and it's not just a great keeper, he's a leader, he was vice-captain at Chelsea last year, he's someone that can shout at the defence, but do you also think it may have slowed down a bit for Chelsea because of Costa's injury?
Don't get me wrong, Chelsea did what they needed to do, and I don't believe in all this rubbish about, parking the bus, like Andrew said, and grinding a result out and getting a 1-0 or scraping a game in the last minute or even battling out a draw or whatever it may be to get those points, because any team would do that. Look, Arsenal play the most attractive football in the Premier League. They probably play the most attractive football in Europe behind Barcelona. But if Arsenal have 4 games to go at the end of the season, they're 6 points clear at the top of the table. Not a cat in hell's chance is Arsene Wenger sending his players out to go and play flamboyant football. He's telling him to go out there, nick a goal as early as possible,
and sit back
and sit back and defend. And that's exactly what Chelsea did. They did the things they needed to do right. But what I'm saying is, if I don't think Chelsea were anything special. Man City a couple of seasons ago, they didn't look like getting beat. Liverpool apart from the game against Chelsea and the Crystal Palace game, Liverpool didn't look like getting beat. It was entertaining football. It was all guns blazing. It was all out attacking. It was exciting. Chelsea didn't do anything for me last season where I sat back and thought, wow, that's the Chelsea of old. Chelsea 4 or 5 years ago was steamrolling everybody. 6, 7, 8 nils. They didn't care who came to Stamford Bridge. They were beating them.
Do you think that might be a case of when Chelsea were playing that football, it was under a different manager?
Well, no, because even when Mourinho was there the first time around, they played attractive football. Chelsea played attractive football under Mourinho when he first came. Mourinho's become a pretty boring manager in regards to his tactics and the way that his teams play football. Real Madrid were boring to watch under Mourinho. And I'm not being disrespectful to Mourinho because he's probably one of the best coaches in world football. In fact, without now Ferguson's retired, he is probably the best coach in world football. But Real Madrid were boring to watch. Chelsea are boring to watch. Arsenal are not boring. Arsenal play attractive, attacking football, and the one thing that Arsenal haven't had, don't get me wrong, they've got a good defence. You've got Mertesacker there, who's a World Cup winner. You've got Koscielny, who's a decent centre back. He'd probably walk into Manchester United's defence.
I think, to be fair, I think we did discuss this via messages, but that's the problem. I also think Arsenal have. I don't think Mertesacker's the kind of centre back that is going to win you a league.
No, he's not a centre back that's going to win you a league. Don't get me wrong. Mertesacker's got a mistake in him. And when he turns around and tries to run and chase the ball, he looks like he's pulling a fridge freezer. I'm not saying that he's world class. I'm saying that he's got the ability. He's that mature age. He's like the Rio Ferdinand. Rio Ferdinand's legs went at Manchester United, but he could read the game. Mertesacker can read the game. Now, the one thing that Manchester United had when we won the league for the 20th time, when Rio Ferdinand made the mistake, when Vidic made the mistake, when Patrice Evra made the mistake because they were getting on later on in the career, they had a world-class goalkeeper to back them up on that mistake. Arsenal have not had that. So when Mertesacker makes a mistake, last season it resulted 9 times out of 10 in a goal. Whereas this season, it'll only maybe work out 5 times out of 10. So them games that Arsenal lost last season, they're not going to lose. They're going to draw. They're going to win. And I know Andrew doesn't want to admit it because he's a hardcore Arsenal fan and he's had years and years of disappointment, getting all excited before a season starts, thinking we're going to win the league, we've got Danny Welbeck, and nothing happens. But this season, trust me when I say this, Chelsea are not the team to beat, Man City are not the team to beat, United are still a team. I'll be happy if Man United can get anywhere near the top 2, top 3. Arsenal are the team to beat this season. They've got a quality striker in Giroud. If they can keep him fit, he scored the same amount of goals last season as Diego Costa and missed the first 3 months of the season.
But also, I think the big difference between... I totally agree. I do think Arsenal are going to be up there. But I think the difference about Costa is I think Costa does a lot more work than Giroud. I think
but Giroud doesn't need to do the work. Chelsea don't have that workhorse anymore. They used to have the likes of Claude Makelele, your Frank Lampards.
But we do have that in Nemanja Matic. You know, we have got Willian who contributed.
But they're not workhorses. You're not going to see Willian chasing the ball down like Carlos Tevez used to do for Man City and Man United. You're not going to see Willian running 60 yards. And I watched a game at Old Trafford a good few years ago now when Tevez was there. And he chased the ball round the back 4 for about 5 minutes and eventually started getting tired. So when the left-back tried to clear the ball forward, he threw himself at a diving header to try and get the ball. You're not going to get that from Willian. Matic is a great player. He's a great defensive holding midfielder and he breaks the play up really well. But you look at Arsenal's team, I don't think they're 2 or 3, 4 signings away from being a championship-winning team. They may be 2 or 3, 4 signings away from being a top European club and challenging for the Champions League again, like they did with the likes of Vieira and Henry and Perez and the Invincible side. But trust me, they were a world-class goalkeeper, and possibly one more signing. If they'd have signed Vidal, if Arsenal had signed Vidal, you might as well put Arsenal's name on the trophy now. They're possibly a defensive holding midfielder away from being the team for everybody to beat.
Yeah, I have to say I do disagree with that in the fact that, like I just said, I don't think Giroud is the sort of strike. Yeah, he will get you goals, but I don't think he's the sort to, if he's in a drought, he's going to think about setting up someone else. That's the reason I think Arsenal will have that problem. If you look at Costa was setting up goals. If you look at Luis Suarez, he was setting up goals. If you look at Thierry Henry, he was setting up goals. If you look at Rooney, he was setting up goals. And I don't think they have that sort of striker whose mentality is to be a team player. But what do you think, Andrew?
I think actually, funny enough, just being an Arsenal supporter and knowing the thing, like both of you are actually saying the two positions that Arsenal need the most.
Yeah.
You're both basically saying the right answer between you, because Richard said at the end, then he hit the nail on the head. Like Arsenal, you can say Arsenal will always be this title contender and stuff, but what happens if Coquelin gets injured? Who's behind him? It's Arteta and Flamini.
Yeah.
It's not, you know what I mean? It's not this is not Nemanja Matic or Ramirez as a backup.
Yeah.
It'd have been frightening if Arsenal had got Schneiderlin.
Agree, yeah, I definitely agree.
Arsenal this season would have been frightening because they've got the flair player that everybody likes, that gets everybody excited and frightens defenders in Sanchez. You've got players like Theo Walcott. Don't forget Theo Walcott was out injured for most of last season. So was Oxlade-Chamberlain. They've got the one thing.
One thing I will say, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain has a lot more to offer than Walcott. I think Walcott's very one-dimensional, and I feel that Oxlade-Chamberlain but with Walcott, a lot of teams have worked Walcott out. With Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain is one of those players. Like I said, I don't think he's just a goal scorer. I think he will work for the team. Where Walcott, if Walcott isn't bombing forward, he's kind of useless.
Yeah, but look at the advantage that Arsenal have got. They've got somebody who's a workhorse in regards to Danny Welbeck. He's not the best finisher in the world. He's never going to be world class. He's never going to be a player where people go, "Wow, Danny Welbeck," but he puts a shift in. Now, Giroud doesn't do that. Giroud doesn't put the shift in, but Giroud puts the ball in the back of the net. You've then got Theo Walcott.
Yeah, but I don't think Welbeck gets in the team.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They've got a squad. They've not got 11 world class players, and then if they get injured, that's it. If it's not working for Theo Walcott, you've got Oxlade-Chamberlain. If it's not working for him, you've got Santi Cazorla. If it's not working for him, you've got Mesut Ozil. If it's not working for him,
oh no, totally. In the attacking mids, I don't think they have a problem. But it's just the fact that, like we said, if Giroud does get injured, they do have a problem like they did last year. And obviously you can rely on Sanchez, but Sanchez, okay, he was fantastic last season. There's no denying that. But you can't put the world on his shoulders, as it were.
No, they're not a one-man team. Arsenal have got a great squad. They've got a seasoned manager who knows how to win things. They've got a manager that's not afraid to stick with his philosophies and not go out and waste. Look at could you see Arsenal spending £50 million on Sterling? No, because he's not worth it. They talk about Benzema going to Arsenal. They talk about these world-class players. Seriously, who'd have thought that Mesut Ozil would go and play for Arsenal? Who'd have thought that Sanchez would go and play for Arsenal? They got these quality players at the right price who are now another season in the Premier League, another season at the club. They don't make too many drastic changes. Look at Manchester United. We 5 or 6 players in again this season, this summer already. We've now got to bed them into the team. The 6 players that we signed last season, one of them's already on the way out. So these 5 players there that are 12 months into the Premier League, 12 months into the club. We've got another 4 or 5 players coming in, probably another 2 or 3 players coming in. Arsenal do it right. They do the odd 1 or 2 big signings that they need, and they'll kick on now and they'll do the same again. The big thing that they needed was a goalkeeper, and to get Cech, for number one to get Cech in the first place, top draw. Number two, I cannot believe Chelsea sold him to Arsenal.
Well, you got to remember Mourinho. You got to remember Mourinho didn't sell Cech. It was Abramovich, and it's not. You've got to remember, it's not like Chelsea sold their best goalkeeper.
Yeah, but they didn't sell their best goalkeeper. They sold one of the best goalkeepers in the world at the moment. He'd still get into most football teams. He'd probably get. I'd put him up there. We're better than any goalkeeper that Real Madrid have got at the moment. I'd probably put him up there with any goalkeeper that Barcelona have got at the moment.
Oh no, of course.
So you think about it, he's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Now you look back, whether it's Abramovich that sold him, whether it's Mourinho that sold him, Manchester United refused outright to sell Gabriel Heinz to Liverpool. Gabriel Heinz wanted to go to Liverpool. He was actually going to go and sign for another team, I think in France, who were then agreed to loan him to Liverpool because he wanted to go to Liverpool. Manchester United did not want to strengthen one of their rivals, so they told him, you either sit on the bench, you contract and we'll pay you and you can go on a free transfer in 2 years, or you can go to Real Madrid. It's your choice, mate.
Yeah, but that's the difference. You've also got to look at what Cech has done for the club. You've also got to look at, yes, he will strengthen.
You have just strengthened an already strong football team, and you have just made them 10 times better with one of the best goalkeepers in the world.
Yeah, true. But what you've got to remember is Chelsea, other than Cech, happy to sit on the bench or not do anything, there's nothing Chelsea can do. Abramovich agreed to sell him, so what are we going to do? Are we going to let Cech sit in the reserves, or after the years of service that he's done, let him finish his career and keep a good relationship? Because I agree, he shouldn't have been sold to Arsenal, but you've also got to remember, Cech isn't one of these players who's going to happily sit on the bench or happily just put up. You know, he's a good enough player to be playing. And obviously, when Arsenal come calling, they're a great club. But I think it does strengthen Arsenal. But I don't think Petr Cech going to Arsenal makes them title contenders.
He's easily going to win him 10 to 15 points more.
Oh, he will. But also, you've got to look at the fact, Petr Cech at Chelsea always had, bar Man United, the best defence in the league and the best defensive midfielder. Arsenal don't even have anything close to the best defence in the league.
Well, look at Manchester United last season. Manchester United, if you take away the points that David De Gea won for Manchester United on his own, the last-minute saves when we 2-1 up against Everton at Old Trafford, the last-minute saves, the one-on-ones with Sterling at Old Trafford when we beat Liverpool, all those games, Manchester United don't finish in the top 8.
No, but I totally agree with that. But there's a difference. But
there's no difference. Manchester United had a shocking defence, but when a mistake was made last season, we had a world-class goalkeeper that backed that up and rectified that mistake. More times than not, De Gea rectified that mistake. If De Gea doesn't rectify the mistakes, if we've got Lingard in there, if we've got Valdez in there, if we've got Johnson in there, or Ben Amos, half of those, if not 75% of those points are not won. Manchester United don't make the top 4. We don't get £750 million off Adidas, and we probably don't sign all these players we do this season. We finish in the top 8. We finish 8th or 7th, whatever it works out like mathematically.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But as Andrew said yesterday, as Andrew said earlier, David Ospina was making those saves last season.
But not more times than not. Every now and then, maybe yes, and maybe 25% or 35% of those mistakes he was rectifying with some world-class saves. But Cech will 75% of the time rectify those mistakes.
Well, we don't know that. That's what I'm saying. But Cech hasn't had to do a lot of that in his Chelsea career. He hasn't had the faults of defensive mistake after mistake. Unfortunately, Szczesny did, and obviously Szczesny was a bit clumsy as we can all agree. But David Ospina last year had to put up with that same thing. Arsenal haven't strengthened their defensive play.
I don't want to sit here as a Man United fan and say that Arsenal are going to win the league. I don't want to say that because I'll be honest with you, I can't stand Arsenal. They do my head in. I can't stick them. And I know it's hard for you as a Chelsea fan to admit it.
No, I've totally admitted.
Hard for Andrew. Andrew's really quiet there thinking, I hope Richard's right. I hope Richard's right. And I hope we win the league. It's going to be our year. Do you know what? I hope it's not your year because the best thing about Arsenal not winning things is the meltdown with Piers Morgan on
No,
Twitter.
just fans as a general. But
It's brilliant. It's fantastic. The meltdown is superb. I can't wait for all these Petr Cech helmets to be thrown on at the Emirates because he's let one in the last minute.
But that's
superb.
But that's what I mean. I just think that if they strengthen their back four, then he'd be a lot more comfortable with that, and you wouldn't have so much pressure. David De Gea worked well under pressure, but that's the only season David De Gea has worked well under pressure.
But you've got to look at it this way, right? If a player goes one-on-one with a goalkeeper, right? Look, let's set the example of Manchester United-Liverpool at Old Trafford last season. 2 minutes into the game, 5 minutes into the game, Sterling's through one-on-one with a goalkeeper. David De Gea makes a save. Not shortly after that, it's through one-on-one with a goalkeeper again. David De Gea makes another save. Second half, he goes through one-on-one. He goes round the goalkeeper, and De Gea still gets back and makes a save. This is mental. The next time that Sterling goes through, he's already thinking, he's going to stop me. I'm not going to score. When a player with Arsenal goes through one-on-one with a goalkeeper, and it's Szczesny, the player's thinking, I'll probably score. Whereas now they're going to go through one-on-one with a goalkeeper, and they're going to see Cech coming at him, and they're instantly going to think, oh, hang on, I might... And they're going to think twice. They're not going to be as sharp. I'm telling you guys, listen to me.
No, I do agree that Cech does strengthen a side, but what we're all analysing it back
this season because of Cech, then they will lose.
No, but what I'm saying is, don't expect so early when we haven't seen him the Cech that was at Chelsea, because the Cech at Chelsea was very comfortable because he knew his defence was solid. He knew that the ball would rarely go to him, so he didn't have to do a lot of work. Where the Arsenal keepers, since I'd say Lehmann, I don't know if you agree, Andrew, have always had to have been rushing out to collect the ball. Now, you look at Cech and you look back to the Chelsea previous seasons. I'll send you all the DVDs if you want. I know you'll watch it. But
I'd genuinely rather drink paint stripper.
No, you wouldn't. You'd love it. But if you look back to it, Cech's saves he's never been a rushing out keeper. He's always had Terry, he's always had Cole, he's always had Ivanovic to cover that, and earlier Paulo Ferreira and stuff like that. He's never had to have been a rushing out keeper, and when he has, that's when Cech has often been beaten. Now, Cech is the best. I mean, him and Courtois, I think it's very level. You know, other than De Gea, I think they're the best three in the league without a doubt, and it's hard to argue that. But all I'm saying is, let's see what he's like first, because we haven't seen him tested. So, and that's all I'm saying.
I honestly feel, and I do honestly feel that Arsenal, they're going to be they'll finish in the top one or two this season. Arsenal will finish first or second, and the team that finishes above Arsenal this season will win the Premier League. Mm. Whether that be Chelsea, whether that be United, whether that be City,
Liverpool.
I just can't see. I don't know. I think the problem with Liverpool, and it was the same problem last season, and it'll be the same problem this season, unless they get Mario Balotelli out of that football club, they are going to have problems.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be a constant problem in the changing room, if he does get in the squad and on away trips, in the hotels, on the training ground, he's going to be a constant issue. And honestly, I don't think that Liverpool... Look, I don't think Benteke's worth £32.5 million. He's a good player, but he's not worth that amount of money. But obviously, if he scores 30 goals and Liverpool win the league, he's worth every penny. I don't think They've got. If you look at the Liverpool team in general, they've not got a good goalkeeper. They've not got a good back four. They've got a decent midfielder in Henderson, and maybe now he'll come into his own. Now Gerrard's gone, and he's not living in Gerrard's shadow. He can become his own player, his own man, captain in a football club. What a great achievement for a Man United fan to be captain of Liverpool Football Club.
I think there's a hint of sarcastic there.
Fair play to him. But look, I can't see Liverpool challenging for the top four. I think the top four will be the same as it is this year in regards to teams. Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, Man City. Whoever finishes above Arsenal wins the Premier League for me. And I'm hoping it's Manchester United. It might not be. I'd be happy with a trophy. But like I said, Arsenal for me are the team to beat. And Andrew, you'll probably love me at the end of the season when you're running round London with your inflatable Premier League trophy in your full Arsenal kit and your Petr Cech helmet, and I'll have to give you 200 quid. That's the bet, by the way, guys. Andrew's got to go to a football match this season at the Emirates in the full kit, short socks, shin pads, AstroTurf boots, captain's armband, shin pads, AstroTurf boots, short socks, shirt, and a Petr Cech helmet, and I'll give him 200 quid.
Oh, crikey. You heard it here first. Andrew, before we go on to the next topic, have your say after what we've said, because you stayed a bit quiet there, mate.
Yeah, sure. I'll just go back to the Arsenal one. The only thing I'd say in regards to actually Arsenal improving, you mentioned before that the defence is shaky, which it is. But I would like to remind about the guy we signed in January, the Gabriel.
Paul Easter, yeah.
He is very good, and I think if Mertesacker does a mistake, I think it'll be Mertesacker out and him in, and I think him and Koscielny could be a very good partnership, and possibly, if that was to happen, that would really strengthen the defence. But I do fully
I do think he should be given a chance as well, because there's been a lot of talk around him, and we just haven't really seen him have like a full sort of good few games, really. But that was a great discussion, guys. It's great to get back to the show and discuss all this. We'll go on to the next topic, which is the summer transfers. There's been some huge transfers in the Premier League. Going from Premier League team to Premier League team, which is something we haven't seen big money for a while. We've seen Fabian Delph completely refuse to go to Man City and then go to Man City. It caused a lot of uproar with fans, even at different clubs. What did you guys think about it when you saw it?
Look, everyone will go on about the money, and most players will go to Manchester City for the money, which is why most players will go to Chelsea or Manchester United or Arsenal because of the money. But let's look at it on a footballing terms, okay?
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and we won't know why, this is my personal opinion, I can only imagine that Aston Villa told Delph that they would not sell Benteke. Because I don't think that Aston Villa thought anybody would pay £32.5 million for Benteke.
And also, it was very weird the way that he made the statement as well. You know, it was
exactly. So I think City have come in and he's got an £8 million buyout clause in his contract. So within every right, Aston Villa have got to let him speak to Manchester City. But I reckon they've turned around and said to him, look, Delph, you're the captain of the football club. We've got Benteke. We're talking about signing this player, that player. Come on, mate. We've let Tom Cleverley go. It was a big decision. We've let Tom Cleverley go to Everton.
And that's not a light decision.
That's not what, the Bradford Iniesta? Come on. I just honestly think, look, look, Benteke's not going. I don't think anybody would have paid the £32.5 million. The only reason Liverpool would pay £32.5 million for Benteke is because they got £50 million for Sterling. Yeah. If Manchester City don't buy Sterling, Manchester City don't get Delph, because Benteke doesn't go to Liverpool, he stays at Aston Villa. Now, that's the only reason, because he's probably gone, he's walked into the club have gone, look, no one's going to spend £32.5 million on Benteke. He's safe. We'll have a good season. We've got to the FA Cup final. We've done this, we've done that, we've done the other. You're the captain of the club. Come on, you don't really want to go and sit on the bench at Man City. Look at the likes of Rodwell and what's the lad who they've got down there? Sinclair. Look at Sinclair. Sinclair's at Aston Villa, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's probably sat down with Sinclair and gone, look, mate, well, did you find it? Well, I sat on the bench, mate. I was a pretty decent player. I had a good season. Couldn't get in the squad. They only want you because they've not got many English players and they've got to have a certain amount of English players for the Champions League. And then they've sold Benteke and he's probably gone, do you know what? I can spend the next 3 or 4 years at Aston Villa scraping and scrunging round the bottom of the league and possibly getting relegated and maybe get into a cup final. Or I can go to Man City. I can play 15, maybe 20 games a season. I might win the Carling Cup. I'll be able to play in Europe and I'll be on 150 grand a week. So it's a footballing decision. He's gone to, everybody plays football to win trophies.
Also, one thing that I haven't heard from a lot of...
He came out with a statement.
Yeah, that if he would have stayed quiet, I don't think it would have been half as bad, because I think Villa fans would have understood that he wanted to like move up. As much as he was club captain, it would have hurt. I don't think it would have hurt as much.
Well, look how stupid Louis van Gaal's going to look now if we don't sell Valdez.
Yeah, well, apparently he's not. Apparently he's in the under 21s, and that's final.
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was he's got no future at the club. He doesn't want to be part of the process. We will sell him. Come the end of the transfer window, if Valdez is still at the football club, people are going to be like, well, what's he still doing here, boss? You said he was going. He's not going to want to be there. So what the stupid thing was to come out and make a statement. Yeah. Why come out and make a statement and then go to Man City? Yeah. Do exactly. Look, it's frustrating for a United fan, but do exactly what David De Gea is doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth shut. Don't.
Because
say
at the end of the day, if David De Gea does a U-turn, he can't say, "Well, I've never said I was going."
Yeah. So keep your mouth shut. Get on with your job. Do the job that you've been paid to do. And if your club sell you this summer, they sell you this summer. If you go on a free transfer, you go on a free transfer. If somebody comes in for you and activates your buyout clause and you have to speak to a club, then so be it. But don't come out and make statements because, like you say, David De Gea, look at Wayne Rooney. I want to leave the football club. They've not got the ambition, this, that and the other. Next thing, turns around, give him the money he wants, signs a new contract. Sorry, I made a mistake. I'll never do it again. It's the statements that make the transfers worse.
Yeah. Also, one thing I was going to say, which I haven't seen a lot of people talk about regarding the Fabian Delph thing, Andrew, I'll ask this to you. You look at City's team last season, and we all said that, you know, they were missing that sort of that player in midfield. You know, they were missing the sort of backup for Yaya Toure when he wasn't at his best. Delph is one of those players that could possibly improve that team. What do you think?
I get 100% that point, and I think it's a very valid one. But I just think Richard hit the nail on the head before when he just said Man City don't have that many English players. I think the transfer in general is like very sad. Like Richard then was talking about all the logic and everything, and I'm going to talk more about the sentiment of it. I think it was possibly one of the like ending days of football loyalty. Like we continually get told that football, there's no loyalty and stuff like that, we've got to appreciate it. But like what both of you guys have said as well, which is a great point, is the statement that he put out. He kind of said to Villa fans, I'm not like the rest. I am going to stay. And he kind of like, it was a thing of, because one of my friends said to me, like, he had respect for Delph for doing that. And I thought, yeah, that's fair.
Give it a week.
And then, like I say, a week later, he's like, well, no, actually, I'm going. And it's like, it's one of the lowest points in football loyalty that I think, for me personally, that I've ever seen. Some people may say stuff like Sol Campbell and stuff like that. Of course, that was a big show of disloyalty to his boyhood club. But I mean, this is kind of the captain, and also he's a regular, and he's come out and he says he loves the club and he's not going to leave. And then for him to then, as you say, a week later, just to leave, it's a really low moment, I think, for football loyalty.
It just shows there is absolutely no loyalty in football anymore. Absolutely no loyalty whatsoever. Doesn't matter whether you're the best player at the football club, whether you're the most paid footballer at the football club, whether you're the most liked footballer at the football club, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. And especially to see your captain go, it's like it's something that you never used to see. You know, your captain. I mean, obviously your captains they move on when they get old, and you know they play out their days on the club where they started, etc., etc. But to see your captain go to perhaps sit on the bench for the rest of his career, which is probably what. Well, I wouldn't say probably, but what possibly could happen with Delph. You know, there isn't. I could understand if he was moving into a team where he was guaranteed a first place start. You know, if City said to him, "You're going to be playing first team football, no doubt," but I can't imagine that is the case.
But look at it at this point of view. Okay, seriously, what football club around the world is going to think, "Oof, Man City have signed Delph"? Nobody. When City, when City go and play in Europe, are they going to be frightened with Fabian Delph? No. They've bought him purely because they need English players.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. Which for me is absolutely ridiculous because they're going to play Delph in the centre of midfield. The reason James Milner has left the football club because he wanted to play in the centre of midfield. And James Milner is a million times better than Delph will ever be, and they've let him go to one of their rivals on a free transfer.
Yeah. Obviously,
it doesn't make sense.
Obviously, and also, I'm not being funny, but if they've bought Fabian Delph to sort of sit on the bench, you know, they go on about this youth development system that they have at City with these great players coming through. And I'm not, as a Chelsea fan, I can't really say much, but you know, maybe it'd be a good opportunity to sort of bring them players through. If you're bringing players in for the aspect of, okay, we'll fill the English quota, then surely there's a couple of youth players that might not be able to be world beaters, but would be good enough to get on the bench and maybe be an impact player.
I don't think City can afford, with the money that they've spent, I don't think City can afford to give youth a chance. And it's sad to say, really, because you can't be splashing the cash like they've done. And it's the same with Chelsea. I mean, you know, what's the lad that played last season, the midfielder?
Ruben Loftus-Cheek?
Yeah, looks a decent player. But Chelsea will be, if Chelsea come January, a third in the league, and 10 points behind Arsenal, and City are top of the league, 15 points clear. If Chelsea come January a third in the league, they're not going to turn to the youth policy to try and get them back in contention. They'll go and spend £30 million on a player like they did with the lad from Fiorentina.
Quadrado.
£30 million, and he's never kicked a ball, or very, very rarely kicked a ball. You know, they'll go, and it was the same with Man City. If Man City are fourth in the league and they're struggling to get into Europe next season, that'll be a disaster. So instead of turning to a youth team player, they'll go out and they'll splash the 20, 30 million pound on a player to try and get them back into contention. So once you've started that trend, the thing is with the likes of Manchester United and the things with Arsenal have brought players through. Arsenal have nurtured players and got young players from other clubs and nurtured them through the process.
But I think the big thing about that is, like, when you say that about Arsenal, yeah, they've brought in, I don't know if you agree with this, Andrew, but they've brought in players like Bellerin and Coquelin and stuff like that. And, you know, from Theo Walcott, when he was young, he came to the Arsenal team. But with that happened at United when Fergie was there, because the managers had long enough, they could see what players have grown and stuff like that. But that's not happening at United now. You know, the only reason United played a few youth players last year because they had no choice. I think they've shown that in the last 2 transfer windows where they've brought midfielders like you said, you bought Schneiderlin and you bought Bastian Schweinsteiger. What happens with Mata and Herrera? There's no players are going to get a look in that team.
Man United have got more youth team players in their first team squad than any team in the Premier League.
Yeah, I'm saying after the spending spree, will that happen?
Of course it will. Because we've got quality in our youth system. We've got the likes of Pereira, we've got the likes of James Wilson. We've got these players that can make a difference.
I don't think they can in big matches, though.
But you're now starting to sound like Alan Hansen, and you can't win anything with kids.
Oh no, you can, but I don't. You can win things with kids. All I'm saying is, are those sort of players going to get an opportunity? Because
what I'm trying to say is, once you start that trend where you've got no history of giving the young kids a chance. Arsenal have got history of bringing the likes of Ramsey and Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain and stuff.
Because the same manager was there.
Yes, so exactly. But what I'm saying is, with Chelsea, Mourinho knows what... If Mourinho's a good coach and he's a decent coach, and I think he is, he knows what his youth prospects are like.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The same with Pellegrini. He knows what his youth prospects are like. They've just spent millions on a new youth development centre. But when you've got your fan base and you've got your recent success from splashing the cash, you can't turn around now and go, right, guys, we're not going to spend for the next 2 or 3 years. We're going to bring some youth through. And we'll see where we go from there. And we might win a trophy, we might not win a trophy. It might take us 3 years, it might take us 4 years. You can't change that now. Man City, Chelsea will have to now continue to keep spending, which is why youth players will never really get a look in at Chelsea or Manchester City. But at the likes of Arsenal and Manchester United, they will get a chance because United will give youth a chance. We gave youth a chance last season.
Yeah, but that was only because of injury issues. Like when he said he didn't have, when Van Gaal said in press conferences, this is the team I've got.
But Manchester United had the funds last season to go out and buy defenders. There was talk of us getting Ron Vlaar, who's a seasoned professional, who's played for the Dutch national team, who's got to World Cup finals, semi-finals.
Would you be happy with Ron Vlaar in your team, though?
But that's what I'm saying is no, you wouldn't be, because that's the culture of the football club is in regards to City and to Chelsea, is to go out and spend. And you might buy mediocre players for 10, 15,000 or 10, 15 million, and they might only last 6 or 12 months or maybe 18 months, and then you sell them on. But with Manchester United, they didn't go out and splash the cash on defenders. They give youth a chance. Youth didn't work. It might not work. Tyler Blackett might not be a good player. He might never be world class. Paddy McNair might never be world class, but he's been given an opportunity. We might go out and spend 20, 30 million pounds on a centre-back. We might not. We might give youth another chance. But that's the difference is we gave the chance. We had an ample opportunity last season for Van Gaal to go out and splash the cash and pay money for centre-backs, for defenders, for seasoned pros, for somebody to try and strengthen us up. But we decided to give youth a chance. And that's the difference is we can do that because that's what we've done in the past. But with a club like City and Chelsea, they're not going to. They have to keep on spending.
Well, like I said, I have to disagree with that into the aspect of I understand you can bring youth players through, but I think you can only bring it through with a manager who's there for a long period of time, who can see the players and is building a team. Van Gaal, I can't see Van Gaal there in 2 years anyway, and I don't see him bringing through youth players by choice. I see him bringing them through lack of players and injuries and as such, but I don't see him giving chances like you say. I think a lot of them opportunities last year is where he had no other choice. But Andrew, what do you think?
I think, in fact, I've said it before, and it's kind of happened again in this debate, is the fact that you both are actually right in what you're saying. It's the fact that Richard's spot on in what he's saying, where Man United, in the way the club thinks, does bring you through, regardless of how much money they've spent or anything. And Leon, you're spot on by saying that managers need time. Like if somebody else comes through at Arsenal, possibly next season or something, they're not going to be turning around saying, Chuba Akpom, you're my number 9. They're just not going to do it.
No.
They're going to look round. So you're both perfectly right in what you're saying. But I think personally it's a mixture of both what you're saying. I think the club has to have the thought process, like your Man United's, of we must bring through youth. And also the manager must have some sort of stability.
Yeah, because also you look at players, you look at managers like Roberto Di Matteo, you know, you can't bring through youth within 6 months because your job's on the line before you even start. And, you know, are you really going to be able to sort of hope a prospect works out and, you know, if it doesn't, then, okay, I'll just get the sack? Because the managers aren't going to do that. And obviously with the teams at the moment, like Wenger has seen players go through. You know, he knows which players is good. He knows that Arsenal are not going to sack him for a few bad results. He knows that he's got the board's trust. You know, that's why I think that's why I think he's got a lot of more stability and opportunity to bring players through. But talking about Manchester United as well, Richard, what do you think of the transfers that you've brought in this year and transfers out?
Quality all round, in my opinion. Players that we've needed we've needed decent holding midfielders for a good number of years. We've now got 2. Obviously, one more towards the end of his career,
but experience nonetheless.
Exactly, experience. We need that back in the Champions League. He's won everything in football, and I still
won the League Cup.
He might do this year. I can't believe as a Man United fan that I can now say that Bastian Schweinsteiger plays for Manchester United because he's top draw.
Chelsea legend.
Schneiderlin, to be honest with you, he's been good at Southampton. He's been a very, very good player at Southampton, but can he make that step up? You know, we've seen the extremely talented players from Southampton who were talented at Southampton go to Liverpool and struggle with that step up in class and in quality and in expectation. Maybe he can do, maybe he can't. The young lad at right back, we've now finally got a right back
Darmain
who can defend, he can go forward, he's got pace, he's young, he's everything that we need. I think Memphis Depay is probably one of the most exciting young players in world football at the moment. And for us to get him, when I'm pretty positive the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona and Liverpool and Arsenal probably had a look at him and maybe inquired about him.
Yeah, because that was one of the things as well. I don't know if you agree, both of you, but it didn't seem like a lot of teams other than Liverpool were in for him. You'd think that teams would have swamped him. Do you maybe think he had that thing in his head where I need to come to the Premier League, and obviously with his ex-coach for Holland, do you think he maybe thought, no, this is going to seal the deal for me?
I don't think we'll ever know. I mean, obviously he turned around. He said that he turned Liverpool down. I mean, it wasn't. Was it 18 months ago? He was tweeting Ala Madrid when he was obviously at PSV. I just think. Look, let's be perfectly honest. Bastian Schweinsteiger, Memphis Depay, Schneiderlin, they don't come to Manchester United if David Moyes is still manager. They've come to play for Louis van Gaal. Schweinsteiger's played with him before.
I don't think they've come specifically for that. I think they've come because they can see, the Champions League back, and it's an opportunity to play in that for a huge team. I don't know if it's just Van Gaal.
Well, yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's Van Gaal. I think it's obviously the prospect of playing for Manchester United. For a team that's obviously clearly in transition. We've had a couple of, we've had a bad season. We've got a new manager, new players. I think that the transfers have been what we needed at the moment. I think there's still, for me as a Man United fan, I'm one of these fans that I think if a player doesn't want to be at the football club, doesn't matter how good he is, let him go. Just if David De Gea wants to go back to Spain and he wants to go to Real Madrid, let him go. But make sure we get a decent price. I mean, let's be honest, we've just sold Raphael. Raphael isn't the best right back in the world. He's a 25-year-old, seasoned professional that's played for Manchester United for the last 8 years, won countless trophies. He's in the peak of his career at 25, and we've just let him go for 2.1 million.
Yeah.
Chelsea have just sold a guy that hardly played for them back to the same team they bought him off for the same price they paid for him.
Yes.
My concern is Manchester United struggle to get decent prices when they sell a player.
But do you think also when you look at the players that we just spoke about, like Felipe Luis, you've seen the quality in them. You know, do you think maybe a lot of teams are seeing, you know, the United players as the same with Danny Welbeck under Fergie?
Di Maria is world class. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you support. He is world class. Sadly, he's just not cut out for the Premier League. Just like Juan Sebastian Veron wasn't cut out for the Premier League. Doesn't mean he wasn't world class. He was world class, Veron. He just couldn't hack it in the Premier League. Di Maria can't hack it in the Premier League, so he's leaving. He is no worse or better player than he was when we bought him. So why are we selling him for nearly £20 million less than what we paid for him?
Do you think
within 12 months?
Let's direct that question to Andrew. Andrew, you've been a bit quiet, so what do you think about that?
I think, in all fairness, I don't think it's anything wrong with United's business plan. I think kind of something like that, for example, the Di Maria one, is just a thing of football business, just kind of PSG can kind of say, you want... They are giving quite a lot of money, 44, but like what you're saying, Richard, 100%. Di Maria is a world-class player, and it just didn't work out for one season. That's all it was, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's more, as I just said then, I think it's just more the sign of football as a business where you kind of have the leverage to say he didn't have a great season. He had quite a few troubles off the pitch with his house getting burgled and stuff like that. So,
but Liverpool have just signed a player that had needed 2 weeks off because he was tired, who's not had a good season. I think he's scored 16 goals in the last 4 years as an attacking player, and they've just sold him for £49 million. He's not worth a penny over 25 million. And they've just sold him for 49. And it wasn't because there was more than one club after him. Man City come in with an offer, 35 million. Nope. 40 million. Nope. 45 million. Nope. We want 50. Will you take 49? Deal.
But do you think also, I do agree that he had a bad he did have a bad season, Di Maria, but do you think, Andrew, it could be the fact that we sell him for 40 million, he has another bad season, and we sell him for even less?
Yeah, definitely. But I think, like what Richard was saying before, though, there comes a point when a football player does not want to be at your club, and I know it for a fact, being an Arsenal supporter, there's people who just don't want to be there, you can tell. And I think kind of, obviously, like football, like once an agent knows his player wants to leave, he's straight away on the phone to people and he's telling PSG he wants to leave. So PSG aren't then going to say, all right, then we'll just recoup your money. They'll say, no, we want the money back and stuff.
Yeah, because it's all based on form as well, you know.
Of course, yeah.
They have the scouts that watch the league. You know, they're not, how did he play in the Premier League last season? You know, they know. And
so if it's based on form, how the hell did you get £50 million for David Luiz?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's stupid money, and I don't know how. But
that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between another football club and Manchester United. Now, I get it with Manchester United. We've sold Van Persie for $5 million because he's on $250,000 a week, and if you calculate his $250,000 a week in his contract, we've probably sold him for about £15 million in total. And if you calculate how much Nani was on, and we sold him for £6 million, and this, that, and the other, for me, it doesn't make a difference. Nani, not world class, but he's worth a lot more than £6 million. Van Persie, his legs have gone. He's got old. That happens in football. It just happens to certain players, get to a certain age, and they just go old really quickly. That's happened to Van Persie. If Van Persie was still a class player, he wouldn't be ending his career in Turkey. It's the same with Nani. If Nani was as good as what people say, some people say he is or was, he wouldn't be finishing his career now in Turkey at the age of 27 or 28 or whatever he is. But United struggle to get decent prices for their players. It's the history of Manchester United. We have only sold one player that I can remember, one player, one transfer, obviously before Di Maria's gone, for more than £20 million.
Is that Ronaldo?
Apart from Ronaldo for 80 million, there's only one other player I can think of that we have got more than £20 million for.
The Football Suite trivia time.
And that's when we sold David Beckham to Real Madrid for 25 million. We've let the likes of Juan Sebastian Veron go to Chelsea. We paid, 29 million for him? We sold him to your lot for 15. We've let the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy, still in his early 30s, go to Real Madrid for £8-9 million. We let him Raphael, who's won everything that you can in English football pretty much.
Yeah.
We've let him go to France at 25 years of age for just £2 million.
Strange transfer, that.
You know, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to let a player of his quality, because he's clearly got quality, otherwise he wouldn't be at Manchester United for 8 seasons, to go to France for £2 million. We're talking about not letting David De Gea go, and Man United want £25 million for him, but Real Madrid only want to give us 18 or 19 or whatever they want to give us. Take it, because next year he goes on a free transfer.
Yeah.
And so what if we win the league? It'll be worth letting him go on a free transfer if we win the league. We might win the league if we let him go for 20 million and buy a goalkeeper for 20 million.
Yeah. Yeah, I do get what you're saying, but coming towards the end of the show now, guys, but what we'll do is we'll end on our sort of our signing of the window so far. Obviously, there's still quite a bit to go, and deadline day, which we all love. But Andrew, who's your signing of the season? I think I can guess it, but let us know who your signing of the season is so far.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to be very biased, but I'm going to have to go for Czech. I do apologise.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
After going through Almunia and Chesney, I do apologise, but having Czech is a massive signing.
Yeah, it definitely. And also, Richard, it doesn't have to be for your club. It can be anyone. Your signing of the season.
Signing of the season so far in the Premier League? Mm-hmm. I was going to say Czech. But in regards to, it's either Czech or I think one of the best bit of businesses so far, and I can't believe you've not picked up on it, is Crystal Palace getting
Johan Cabaye. Yeah.
What a great signing.
Yeah.
That is for Crystal Palace.
Yeah. Or to be fair, that was my signing of the summer so far, because that is exactly what they needed to push their club on to that next level. I think it's such an important signing.
They just signed Connor Wickham as well, haven't they?
Yep, Connor Wickham from Sunderland, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's
not, Patrick Bamford, Championship player last season, young player.
He's not world class, Connor Wickham, but he's a big lad. He's only young. He can hold the ball up.
And with them pacey wingers, could be a blessing.
You know, they've got Cabaye. Zaha looks to be a different player now. He's not at a big club, and with the expectations that was on him, he seems to have come back into his own again. I think the Cabaye deal so far is he's up there with. I mean, that Czech and Schneiderlin for United, Schweinsteiger, them 4 for me so far are the big bits of business. But I think Cabaye to Crystal Palace is probably my pick so far.
Yeah, I have to say Cabaye to Crystal Palace is mine as well. If I had to go for another one, I think I do think Nathaniel Clyne to Liverpool might be a good one, because I think that going from Glenn Johnson to Nathaniel Clyne, especially a young player as well, who could also improve.
To be fair, if they'd have gone from Glenn Johnson to my grandma, they'd have improved.
Boy, he's got more medals than Gerrard. But we'll leave it at that. We'll be back for weekly shows, guys. Hope you like the video. If you have any suggestions or you want to be part of the show, please leave us a comment in the comment section or tweet us. You know, we'll be getting involved with the matches, having a bit of banter. And, yeah, anything you can feel we can improve on the show, just let us know. And thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks a lot.